Have you ever wondered how to transition from a non-technical role into an exciting career in cloud computing, machine learning, or AI? If so, you're in for an inspiring journey today. Our guest, Darya Petrashka, is a powerhouse in the tech world. She's a senior data scientist and an AWS community builder with an incredible story to share. Darya successfully pivoted from being a content writer and project manager to landing her first job as a data scientist, and today she's here to walk us through how she made it happen. In this episode, we're going to dive into the challenges Darya faced while making this career shift, the mistakes she learned from during her job application process, the impactful projects that helped her to stand out, and her practical advice for beginners eager to land their first tech role. This episode is packed with valuable insights and actionable tips to inspire your own journey. So get ready, because this is one you do not want to miss. Let's jump right in. Now, I'm really excited to get into this conversation with you. First, can you sort of introduce what your current job title is and what do you do sort of day to day in that role?
Yeah, sure. I'm a data scientist and I work at a company called SLB. This is an oil and gas company, but I'm not doing oil and gas. I'm more into supply chain domain, and I work on a projects that involve NLP, Gen AI. So it's related mostly to legal documentations as for now.
Oh, that's really exciting. And that seems like a proper use of like data science and Gen AI. So that's really amazing. But before we go into that, I really want to go back in time, a couple of years ago, because I was doing a bit of research on your background, and I noticed you were a project manager. And so, you've been able to make that transition from being a project manager to basically an exciting field of sort of data science, machine learning, AI, all that good stuff. So I want to go back. Why did you become a project manager in the first place? And then what made you decide to make the transition into tech?
Yes, it's a great question, and I will try to explain it because I was graduated from tourism management and economics, so it was mostly about s- general study of some economics, some languages, management, and I was really, I don't know, maybe lost in life at some point, and I decided why not to try to be kind of project manager for a translation agency. So I did first when I joined because I like foreign languages. I like languages like as a whole system. And when I joined, I was first very excited, and I thought, oh, I'm going to learn a lot. But 1 month passed, and I felt that I was stuck. I wasn't learning anything new, anything cool, anything interesting. And in some terms, I hit a ceiling. Uh, but I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do it. And it took me some time, it took me a while to realize what I was going to do. Because when I was at school, like before deciding on my studies, at some point, somehow I decided that IT and informatics and all this related stuff, it's not for me because maybe I'm not smart enough. I cannot do this complicated calculations, and also I enjoyed math. Yeah, but it's kind of strange why I decided in such a way. So it took me some time to realize what kind of positions or job can I take at that moment. And I started a family, so I married and I started having kids. So it was kind of a natural break in my story. And it was a great time to rethink about my life, rethink about what I'm going to do next. And I thought, so if I enjoy languages so much, why? Why? Like, because cannot, I couldn't see one, I couldn't choose one language to study, like one particular language. Or maybe I would be an English interpreter, English translator. No, I was interested in studying the systems. And I decided, why not to dig deeper and find out where it could lead to? And I thought, okay, languages are kind of systems, and what jobs can be related to this? So that's how I found out about natural language processing, and that's how I found out about data science, is a like vast area, uh, because yeah, in some terms, natural language processing is a sub area of data science, and that's how basically my story began.
Awesome. Now, I just want to pause there because I think it's so important to highlight certain things. And I think your story is one a lot of our listeners will relate to. You know, a lot of people are coming from maybe non-technical background, maybe they're project managers or teachers, or they work in retail. And they're wondering what to do next. And I was in the same situation. I studied geography at university, so it's not like I came from a super technical background. And a lot of the times people what I like about your story as well is that you took some time, you reflected, and you thought about, okay, what actually interests me, and what could a potential future, and you sort of made some connections that I'm sure in the moment, when you thought, oh, I like languages, you probably didn't think, oh, a career in tech. You started exploring, you wanted to learn systems, and then you discovered NLP. And I think, yeah, that following of curiosity is like what I find how a lot of people get in. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
especially, yeah, I just wanted to add on to this. Especially nowadays, we have so many fields intertwisted with IT in certain way. Like you said, geography. Now we have geospatial foundation models. So it's just fascinating how things can be easily flipped to IT at that moment.
yeah, I mean everything is tech, these days. So I think, yeah, thanks for sharing that. And again, I want to highlight the fact that, you started a family. And because what I hear a lot of the times is people always think, oh, is it too late for me to get into tech, or I have all these things in the way. But I always see that, where there's a will, there's a way, and you can sort of figure things out as you go. But yeah, let's continue the story. So you find out about NLP, about data science. What next? What were the next things you started to do to sort of bring you on that journey?
So next step, that it wasn't actually like a linear path, and it wasn't a linear journey, because I was thinking first that I would probably finish too few courses and then get a job straightforward. No, this is not going to happen. Yeah, but I was following like baby steps, and I was falling down and then again rising up and doing some learning and studying. So what I did, I was searching for different kind of courses, mostly free because I didn't have a lot of money to put into it. And just based on some recommendations, I saw different like charts, forums. I tried to join different programs, like again, free based content. And I was just trying to do my best, because when you try to get into that field, you see like the whole new like mind map, the whole new area just opens up to you, and it can be really overwhelming. But I tried to learn some Python, SQL. So I tried to first maybe decide what are the core techniques, because I was looking at job descriptions, and Python was something that popped up in every job description, like most of them, like the majority of them. Yeah, then SQL is another like key skill for data scientist. And also like and this were like building blocks. I was trying my best to learn them online as far as I could, and it was like yeah, it was very challenging to manage family, learning, especially when you don't have uh, like an external proof of your abilities. You don't have a job, you cannot make money, so you need to take more care of home. And yeah, that time was very, very challenging for me. But I had that vision that in the future I will be able to land a job. I will be able to work full time. I will be able to become a data scientist. And that was like my North Star to guide me through this process.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And you mentioned that it wasn't a linear journey, and I made a note of that because I think that is so important. I feel like, people generally think, oh, A plus B equals job. And the reality is that it's not that straightforward. Like you have to try different things, fail at stuff, go back to the drawing board. It's very disheartening at times, and I know this because I've been through exactly the same thing where you for example, you're learning Python and you're like, I don't get it, like I don't understand. And then you're like, okay, let me take a break for like a week or two, and then you come back. Or you're learning Linux or something like that. So I just want to encourage all the listeners at home that if you're in a situation where you feel like it's really difficult and it's really challenging, understand that yes, it is really difficult, it is really challenging, but the good news is that it's difficult and challenging for everybody. I think there's this concept, when they see people like you or people like me or people who are ahead in their career, and they think, oh, it must be super easy for them. But we all had to start in a place where it was very difficult for a long time. So thanks for sharing that. So at this point, you're learning the building blocks, you're learning Python, you're learning SQL, you're joining groups and communities. What was there a moment where, you thought, oh, I'm getting the hang of this? Or, like walk me through how you went from being like, oh, I'm not sure about this. This is really difficult, to a stage where you're like, okay, this kind of clicks. This kind of makes sense.
I think that there were some moments that I realized that, mm, no, let me put it that way. Because I believe that when you sit down and just wait for the moment, it will never happen because sky is the limit. And Python, you can learn it like, and it's so I'm still learning. I'm still discovering a lot of things, like even today. And I'm sure that is gonna continue for a long time. But maybe the key point here for me was to start applying for jobs and to see the actual fit, because I may be sitting at home and maybe thinking that, okay, I still need to put like 1 year of Python related education to be able to get the job. But in reality, your skills, like my skills, were already sufficient to get the job. And I just learned rest at my job, at my position. And this is the idea. So you start applying and you see the actual fit. And it is not harm to realize that you are not good enough for this job. You can still practice, but you will learn a lot from these interviews, from these like job descriptions, from fitting yourself, from finding out how your skills can be applied in real world scenarios. Why this company is looking for a data scientist or a Python developer or a cloud engineer. This is like a great moment to evaluate yourself.
Feeling frustrated about your lack of cloud job offers? Well, you're not alone. For many, breaking into the cloud industry feels overwhelming, especially when you don't know what to focus on. Without the right projects and a resume that grabs attention, it can feel like an impossible climb. But it doesn't have to be this way. Our program at cloudcareermentor.com is here to help you cut through the noise and get results. You master in-demand skills like Linux, AWS, Git, Terraform, CI/CD, and much more, all the while building real-world projects that show recruiters what you're capable of. We'll teach you how to turn those projects into standout resumes, and we'll also give you the tools on how to interview to impress hiring managers. This guidance is personalized and tailored to you. Plus, with personalized mentorship, a structured learning plan, and an engaged communities, you'll have everything you need to achieve your goals and learn the right skills. Your dream job isn't out of reach. Just visit cloudcareermentor.com to start building the skills employers are looking for today. Check it out now. Amazing. I like that. I think, people, we all do this. We always wait to see, oh, I'm not good enough, or if I just learn this thing. And I like the concept of applying even if you don't feel ready. Because one thing I've noticed in my career, with everything, I've never felt ready. I've never felt ready to get the job. I've never felt ready to sit that certification. I've never felt ready, but you just do it. And, and it either works or it doesn't. And, you just keep going. Actually, while you're on the applying process, do you know how long it took from the moment you said, okay, I want to get into, NLP or whatever, to when you got that first job offer? Like, how long did it take roughly?
Oh, it's a great question because the first idea when something clicked in my mind and I realized that data science and NLP was where my passions, it was like near beginning of 2019.
Hmm.
So, and I can't say that I was moving fast because I just had my second daughter and all this newborn baby stuff, and I had like my eldest daughter, and I was full time involved in that. So I rather did an occasional studies of that of something related, just some general books about NLP, like popular ones, not very technical to just grasp a feeling of it. So maybe we can consider this as a start. And when I got my actual job, so first I decided because I was also trying to work part time at my current company that was where I was a content creator and a project manager. So I was asking about some data and data analysis for these positions or tasks. So it was much easier for me to take this task out of my current at the day job than to actually get hired by a new company. So and I started to do that, and I think it was end of 2018, beginning of 2020, and then the whole world go went crazy with pandemic, and I doubled down my efforts on a digital online learning. And my first job, which was like external kind of job, was in 2021. So I don't know how to answer this question
No, I
properly.
think you answered it perfectly. And the reason I wanted to highlight this is that there's certain lessons in that story that I want my listeners to take away. So first of all, you thought about, okay, this data science, this NLP thing, let me start looking into it. That was 2018, but you didn't get your like first proper data science job till 2021. And I think that is so important because, I think we live in a time now where people are expecting to go from no technical background to a good job in like 3 to 6 months, you know? And I don't personally, I don't think that's realistic. I think you need to give yourself at least a year. And when I say give yourself, I mean, maybe after like 3 to 6 months, you start applying for jobs and, that takes some time. And then maybe in a year, you'll get something. But I think because most people have like full-time jobs or they have kids or they have responsibilities. And so I think, and also learning this tech stuff again, it's really difficult. There's things that make it easier, but you just have to put in the time. And so, I think your story of like starting in 2018 and getting your first proper job in 2021,
19, like beginning of 2019.
beginning of 2019,
Mm.
I think that's what happens for most people, you know. Another thing you mentioned that I thought was quite important was that in the company you were working at, once you started learning some skills, you started asking them for data, data projects. And I think that's something a lot of people don't do because a lot of people work in companies where maybe they use cloud services or they use whatever tech. And I'm like, as long as you put some work and you started learning these technologies, like reach out to the people on that team and be like, hey guys, I'm learning this thing. Do you mind if you have some things I can help with? I'm happy to get involved. And I actually think getting a job at your current company is easier because that helps you. They'll be happy to give you some tasks. Your manager will probably be happy because that shows some development, and you start to build some of that experience so that when you do go to the next external company, you already have some experience under your belt. So if you're listening, think about if your current company has any, if you're interested in a cloud career, does your company use the cloud? Is there like a tech team you can start talking to, start networking with, start sharing your progress, asking if they have anything you can help with, because that's such an underrated thing. So thanks for sharing that. So yeah, it took about, so you mentioned roughly how long it took to go from initial idea to your first job. Do you know how many jobs you applied for, like roughly?
I didn't count honestly, but I guess I applied for hundreds of jobs,
Hundreds,
and
yeah.
it was a lot. It was a lot, and maybe the reason the like okay, first reason, I was a beginner and I wanted to land a job. Yes, but another reason is I didn't realize what kind of job I would like to. And later on, when I studied different paths of data scientist, I realized that there are clear differences between, for example, data scientists working at startup and a data scientist working in like global corporations. These are like two completely different career paths. But I didn't know about it at that time. So I didn't do like a proper research and evaluation of what kind of path I would like to follow. I just applied for everything where I can find like a match, or even sometimes job title didn't match at all. I saw relevant skills in the description. I still applied because it was still a chance for me.
Yeah, no, and I think that's so common among beginners. I did the same as well. I was like, when I remember when I first started, I'd learned some Python, I'd learned some Linux, I mean, I'm a senior solution architect now, but even then, I didn't even know what the cloud was. So I was applying for jobs like, software developer, Linux administrator, whatever job had AWS in it. And so you just kind of like throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and eventually something something sticks. And also, I think what you said about applying for hundreds of jobs, again, that's something I find is very true. You have to apply. And the reason I think this is important to highlight for my listeners is because I feel like, when people start applying for jobs and the rejection letters start coming in, they start to get really discouraged. And I feel like I want to say that, when I applied for jobs at the start, you just get rejected and you just have to sort of not even think about it, you know, because you're going to get rejected. Accept that, carry on applying. And so I think it's really good that you share that, because again, I think people think that, oh, I just need to apply to 5 jobs and I'll get one job off of that. It's like, nah, you need to. I always think of applying for jobs as a process. It's like, what for me, when I'm applying for jobs, I wake up, see all the jobs available, apply for all of them, get on with my day. Next day, do the same thing. And so I'm not thinking, oh, have I applied to? I'm just like, whatever jobs I'm applying, keep it moving. Um, cool. So did you want to add to that?
I just want to add that out of this like whole day applying, you may get one interview or you may get no interviews at all, but it is still moving and it is still learning.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you remember how many interviews you got before you got your first job?
I,
Like how many
I,
companies you interviewed with?
yeah, I think it was a ratio of maybe 10 to 1 because I mentioned that I applied nearly hundreds of jobs, so I got like dozens of interviews. And there was completely different companies for
Hmm.
completely different kind of task. Some of them had machine learning, some of them didn't. Some of them just needed some SQL database administrator, but I still went to the interview because to learn something, to understand how it how it works in a like
Yeah.
in a real market. So yeah, and from these interviews, I also learned some soft skills to apply because otherwise my technical skills, yeah, they are important, but soft skills are important as well, or maybe even more important, because companies wanted to see a person who wants to develop, who wants to add on something to the company, who wants to, I don't know, contribute, work as a team. And first, I didn't realize that, but gradually I was learning my best to kind of adapt and I learned what companies really were looking for in my answers.
Yeah, I think that's great to mention the soft skill. And this is something that comes up a lot. You need to be personable. You need to know how to interview well. You need to know that companies aren't just looking for a technical person. They're also looking for someone who gets on well with the team, who they can have a conversation with. And all of these are very important to come across in the interview. And also in terms of interview, I like your point about, you had like a dozen interviews. And I always tell people that because I have a program where I help people get jobs in the cloud industry. And sometimes, they're like, oh, I've got two interviews, but I didn't get a job. And I sort of see it like this. There's a couple of challenges to getting your first job. The first one is just applying, like, just learning the right skills. Sorry about that. The first one is just learning the right skills, right? So, like, say Python or Linux or AWS or whatever. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is applying uh, for a lot of jobs. You just have to apply every day and not get discouraged by the rejection letters, because they will come, but just keep applying. I almost say it's kind of a bit like a numbers game, where the more you apply, the more chances you have of getting that. So after that, the next challenge is actually interviewing, and I always say, like, for me, you need to get at least 5 interviews with different companies before you even start to think about getting hired. Because exactly like you said, it takes time because interviewing is almost like it's a skill in itself. You need to know how to practice. You need to know how to answer certain questions, and that's then we can start thinking, okay, now I can get a job. But it's almost like a process. I found that yeah, everyone sort of has to go through all of those. So thanks for sharing those. Cool. So you were able to sort of go through all of that, and after a year or so you secured your first job, which was great. um now you've had a lot of experience, as a data analyst and data scientist. Now you're in the sort of Gen AI space, which is really exciting. Can you talk about maybe any interesting projects you've done in your career, and what were the challenges you faced with it, and how did you make it happen? Do you feel frustrated because you feel like you're learning a lot of technologies, but don't feel like you're making any progress towards achieving your goals? Do you want to break into the cloud industry, but are struggling to find a good learning plan to help structure your studies? Well, then, you need to download this free guide I created called The 3 Simple Steps to Your First Cloud Job. This guide walks you through a tried and tested learning plan you can follow that would help you know exactly what technologies you need to study to improve your chances of getting hired. This plan is based on what I used to break into the cloud industry and what dozens of cloud beginners from all over the world have followed to land tech jobs. Make sure you download this free guide now. Link is in the description.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that each project that I'm working on is interesting because it can be interesting from different points of view. Some projects, I remember one project when I actually started working with AWS technologies, because I was joined a team as a data scientist, and they already had all infrastructure on AWS. So I just had to learn how to incorporate my model, how to make it work and run on AWS. I learned what is Lambda function about, what is SageMaker about, what is S3 about. And now I'm talking about these things, and I may think, oh, it's so easy. I know S3 is storage. But at that time, I was like with open eyes. Wow, it is so new, so cool, so fascinating. So it took me time to learn how to do things, and it also took me time to learn my mistakes and what I've done differently if I start again like today. But I think each project is a part of your journey because you learn new stuff, you learn from your mistakes, you learn from different kind of approaches you could take from it, and that's how you develop yourself. And I also wanted to mention one more project, which was more like data science related. When I participated in a hackathon, in a community builders hackathon, with a team of brilliant women, and this project was important for me because I was actually designing uh, the look of the final look of the solution. I was acting more like a I don't know, maybe designer or like customer based business analyst. And it was very fascinating for me as well. Also, it's not part of my day-to-day job, but I was so lucky to learn how to act in a new role, how can I change my hats. So all this hands-on practice, it all gives me sense of resilience that I can, if I was able to learn and secure my job as a data scientist, I can learn and adapt to ever changing landscape of IT related jobs. So maybe today I'm a data scientist, but who knows what happen in a year? I can switch to another kind of workloads. So yeah, the question was about project,
Yeah.
but sorry.
No, I think that makes sense because I think it's really important for especially people who have a job in tech to think what other adjacent projects or skills can you build, because like it all sort of feeds into each other. So for example, when I was a cloud engineer early in my career, I was dealing more with AWS infrastructure, databases, that kind of thing. But I always thought it would be cool to learn how to develop an application like from scratch, because I'm talking to developers all the time and all of that, but I didn't feel confident in my sort of programming skills. And so I started developing just like little apps for myself and for cool stuff I wanted to build. And not really anything to do with my job, but I realized the better I became at app development, I could understand, oh, this is how the application talks to the database. These are some of the nuances of app development, and those skills then made me a better cloud engineer, which then made me a better solution architect, and it helped me to get promoted quicker. So I always think, like, if you're in the tech industry already, think of what other adjacent skills you can learn that would sort of feeds into your skill set, and that I think that's super important. So thanks for bringing that up. um we're
Certainly.
sort of rounding towards the end of this, but I'd like to know what actions or attributes do you think has helped you to progress the most in your career?
I think that mm, that maybe resilience and constantly battling with my imposter syndrome, with my self-doubting, because actually what differs me from the past, from where I am at the present, is the knowing of myself. I know myself better now, and I know that I can learn pretty much everything. I can learn different stuff. So this may be a key piece of knowledge that I knew before, because I really had a lot of self-doubting, and not everyone in my area supported me. Luckily, my husband supported me a lot, but not everyone even understood my struggles. Not because not everyone is interested in getting into IT, switching a job, so were not maybe supportive, but find this confirmation, find this support from within and from your friends, from your family is very important. And also find your like-minded friends. Okay, it may be not your next to door neighbor, but we have online communities. We have a lot of brilliant people out there that are who are passionate as well about building things. We have, like, if people are interested in AWS, we have AWS Community Builders Program, where you can find brilliant people, you can find friends, you can build these connections. And this is okay, you can do everything on your own, but this is something that fueling you, something that inspires you, and actually helping you with this self-doubting struggles as well.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And that's one thing I find as well with a lot of beginners and with myself at the start, where, we all think, oh, it's a technical thing. I just need to learn the technology. But what I've actually figured out is that breaking into the tech industry, it's actually a psychological game. you know it's you versus the doubts. It's you versus the, can I actually do this? It's you versus, oh, I should just give up, it's too hard. And it's like, once you sort of overcome the psychology of it, where you're like, okay, I'm just going to keep getting better, keep applying for jobs, and whether it's going to take me 3 months, whether it's going to take me a year, I don't really care. I enjoy learning and I can see the future. Once you sort of get into that mindset where you sort of remove the outcome, and you're just like, okay, I just enjoy learning this stuff and I'm just going to keep applying, and that's it, that's all I'm doing. I think it gets a lot easier. So thanks for sharing that. What's one negative thing? Because I think I always like to put a balanced perspective on this program. So what would you say is, say, a negative of working in the technology industry, and what would you say is a positive of working in the technology industry?
I would say negative thing as it's actually both negative and positive, that the technology is evolving very rapidly, and you need to keep it up, and you need to practice, you need to learn all that time. But this is actually a positive thing, and then it depends on how you treat it, right? And it's it's good in a sense that newcomers can learn new stuff, learn new things, and become relevant to the market. But it also means that you need to keep it up. You don't need to think that, okay, I got a job, I'm secure for 10 years, I can do nothing. No, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. You need to find the passion. Maybe you're not enjoying in working with servers, but find something that you really like. That maybe you like seeing happy customer. Maybe you like designing some things. Maybe you like just debugging and this enjoyment of and excitement when you actually found the reason. Find something that you are passionate about and learn more and progress and repeat.
No, I think that's great. The final question is, if you think back to yourself, when you were trying to break into the cloud or into tech, when you thought, oh, this data science and NLP stuff sounds interesting, what advice would you give to your younger self about, how to get your first tech role?
I would I would say that I would warn myself about the timeline, that it is not 3 months, 6 months, it is going to take longer. But I would also suggest myself to go and find these communities and these people faster and join them. And yeah, just to be happy with the way I was, because I did a lot of, you know, I was I was hard on myself sometimes, and it's okay to have a break. It's okay to not understand things. It's okay to go over and over again this tutorial if you don't understand it. And maybe with supportive community a little bit earlier in my life, I wouldn't be so hard on myself. I would enjoy more the learning process, especially in the beginning.
I completely agree. The bit being hard on yourself, like I felt that when you said it, because yeah, it was the same for me, and I see it in a lot of people who are trying to break into the tech industry as well. Like they're like, oh, I don't know, like it's not working for me, like, oh, I find it so difficult, and I try to tell them that it's not that you don't understand it, it's that it's difficult for everybody. So don't think that, oh, someone else is better than you, or someone else is moving quicker, or someone else is, just move at your own pace. understand it's different for everybody, and it's genuinely hard. You're not stupid. It's hard. Like, so once you
Yes.
accept that, then it's hopefully it becomes easier. Thank you so much, Daria. You've been so generous with your time. Is there anything you're working on that you'd love to share? I know you're active on social media, and I know you're active on YouTube. So, should people connect with you on LinkedIn, YouTube? What's the best place?
Yeah, thanks for for having me. And I wanted to mention two things. First of all, you and everyone who listening this can easily find me on LinkedIn and be feel free to connect with me, and maybe we can find something interesting to work together on. And also, I don't know where this will pop out, but we have an amazing, as I already mentioned, AWS Community Builders program. You can join it. Application will start already started in January, and you can apply. But if you are not accepted this year, you can always think about it, create some content, share it, and be ready for next year application. This community will help you to find friends, find like-minded people, and get inspired.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I still haven't joined the AWS community program. That's going to be my goal for January. So, so yeah, I need to do that too. Yeah, and I'll leave all of Daria's links in the show notes so you can connect with her. Once again, thank you very much, Daria. And yeah, we'll talk soon.